Hey y'all, today is February 2nd and we did a lesson on Intro to Inequalities and Lesson 5-4 from Savas. So this is your little mini lesson. You do not have this paper, so grab a piece of paper to take notes on and let's get started. Now I first want to point out this little image right here. That's a little handout that I passed out in class today. A little quick reference sheet, if you will, on the inequality symbols. There are 4 inequality symbols. The first one is less than, it looks like that. The next one is greater than, it looks like that. Then you have less than or equal to, it looks like the less than symbol, but there's a line underneath it. And last we have greater than or equal to, it looks like the greater than symbol, but there's a line underneath it. We talked about when you use open circles for less than and greater than when you're graphing those inequality solutions, and you use closed circles for less than or equal to and greater than or equal to when you're graphing those inequality solutions. That will become more evident as we work some examples too. Also here, the last row, we have some key words and phrases that go with each inequality symbol. That will help a lot as we get into word problems. So now that I've gone over that, let's get started with some examples. We're going to get started right here with number 1. X minus 8 is greater than or equal to negative 3. Well, to solve this inequality, it's a lot like solving an equation. So remember when we were solving equations, I would draw a line through my equal sign, and my goal was to get the variable, in this case an x, by itself. So this x is connected to a minus 8. So how do I undo subtracting 8? Well, I add 8. So I'm going to add 8 on both sides of my inequality. Okay, that keeps everything balanced. So on the side with the x, the 8's cancel out. X is by itself. My inequality sign stays the same, greater than or equal to. And negative 3 plus 8 is 5. So x is greater than or equal to 5. That's our solution, but now we have to graph that solution. So I know on my number line, I want 5 to kind of be towards the center. So I'm going to start with 2. So like 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And at 5, that's where I'm going to put my circle. And because we've got greater than or equal to, I've got a line underneath it, I need a closed circle. So at 5, I'm going to put a circle, and I'm going to fill it in because it's a closed circle. Now, because my variable is on the left-hand side, my inequality symbol acts as an arrow telling me which way to shade. So I'm going to shade all the numbers on the right-hand side because those numbers are all bigger than 5. So that's number 1. Let's move on to number 2. X plus 9 is less than 12. Well, to solve it, the first thing I'm going to do, draw a line. And I'm trying to get that x by itself. So I'm going to subtract 9 on both sides. So on the side with the x, my 9's cancel out. X is less than. On the other side, I've got 12 minus 9, which is 3. X is less than 3 is our solution. Now we can graph that on our number line. So I want 3 to kind of be towards the center. So I'm going to start at negative 1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's all I can fit. Okay, so at 3, what kind of circle do I want? Well, I want an open circle. There's no line underneath my symbol. So I'm going to leave my circle just like that, an open circle. And because my variable is over here on the left, I can use my inequality sign as an arrow telling me which way to shade. I'm going to shade towards the left, so towards negative 1. Okay, moving on to number 3. X plus 8 is less than 20. Well, to solve this inequality, I'm going to draw a line, and now I'm trying to get that x by itself, so I'm going to subtract 8 on both sides. Now on the side with the x, 8 cancels out. X is less than 20 minus 8 is 12. X is less than 12 is our solution, and now we just need to graph that solution. So I know on my number line, I want 12 to kind of be towards the center. So I'm going to start at 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and then 17 is right there. Okay, so at 12, what kind of circle do I want? Well, I want an open circle because there's no line underneath my symbol. And I know that x is less than 12, so I want to shade all the numbers that are smaller than 12. So 9, 10, 11, and it keeps going even past 9, like 8, 7, and so on. Okay? So let's look at number 4. We have d plus 13 is greater than or equal to 19. So in order to solve this inequality, I'm first going to subtract 13 on both sides. So my 13s cancel out. D is greater than or equal to 19 minus 13 is 6. So D is greater than or equal to 6 is our solution. And now we need to graph that inequality. So I know I want 6 to be kind of towards the center of my number line. So let's start with 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Okay, so 6 is right there in the middle. What kind of circle do I want for 6? Because I've got a line underneath my symbol, I want a closed circle. So I'm going to put my circle there and I'm going to fill it in. Now, which way am I going to shade? I'm going to shade all the numbers that are bigger than 6. So I'm going to shade this way here. Okay. Moving on to number 5, I've got y minus 6 is greater than or equal to 22. So in order to solve this inequality, I'm going to draw my line and I need to add 6 on both sides. So on the side with the y, the 6 cancels out, y comes down, my inequality sign stays the same. It's greater than or equal to, and 22 plus 6 is 28. So my solution is y is greater than or equal to 28. Now I need to graph that solution. So I'm going to put it on my number line. So I want 28 to kind of be towards the center. So maybe we start with 25, and this time I'm going to count by 2s. So that right there is 26. So then I have 27, that's 28, 29, that's 30, 31, 32, and 33, okay? Now, where does my circle go? My circle goes at 28, which is right in between 27 and 29. So that's where 28 is. What kind of circle do I want? I want a closed circle because there's a line underneath my inequality sign, okay? So I'm going to put my circle and I'm going to fill it in because it's a closed circle. And again, because that variable is on the left-hand side, I can use this as an arrow telling me which way to shade. I'm going to shade towards the right. So all the numbers that are bigger than 28. Okay, moving on to number 6. G minus 13 is less than 19. Okay, so I'm going to draw my line. How do I get G by itself? Well, I add 13 on both sides. So on the side with the G, the 13s cancel out. G is by itself. My inequality sign is still less than. 19 plus 13, when you add that together, you get 32. So G is less than 32 is my solution. And now I graph it. So I know I want 32 to be kind of towards the center. So I'm going to start with maybe 28. And again, I'm going to count by 2. So that's 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, and that's it. Okay, so 32 is where I need to put my circle. What kind of circle do I need though? I need an open circle because there's no line underneath my symbol. Now, which way do I shade? Because the variable's on the left-hand side, I can let it be an arrow telling me which way to shade. It's pointing towards the left, so that's the way I need to shade. And when you think about it, it logically makes sense. G is less than 32. Well, all these numbers, 30, 28, even beyond that, 26, 24, again, I'm still counting by 2s, but those are all numbers that are less than 32. So they're all solutions. That's why I shade that side. Okay, moving on to number 7. Okay, so we're going to draw our line. And how do we get that P by itself? Well, we add 20. So we're adding 20 on both sides. Okay, well, my 20s cancel out. P is by itself. It's less than or equal to 7 plus 20, which is 27. P is less than or equal to 27 is our solution, and now we just need to graph that on our number line. So like I've said before, I want that 27 to be kind of towards the center of my number line. So I'm going to count by twos. Let's start with 22. Oops. 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. Okay, so I've got my number line done. I counted by twos. Where exactly is 27? Because it's not labeled here because I counted by the even numbers, right? So 27 is in between 26 and 28. It'll be right there. Now, what kind of circle do I need at 27? I need a closed circle. How do I know? There's a line underneath my inequality sign. So I'm going to draw my circle and fill it in. Now, again, because the variable's on the left-hand side, I can let my inequality sign be an arrow telling me which way to go. It's pointing towards the left, so I'm going to shade all of the left-hand side, including the arrow. Okay, and when you think about it, it makes sense. P is less than or equal to 27. All of these numbers here are smaller than 27, and that's why I shaded in that direction. Number 8, we have V plus 20 is greater than 10. Okay, so in order to solve this inequality, I'm going to draw my line, and now I need to subtract 20 on both sides. Okay, so my 20s cancel out. V is greater than 10 minus 20, which is negative 10. So V is greater than negative 10 is my solution. And now I just have to graph it. So I know I want negative 10 to be kind of towards the center. So let's start with maybe negative 14, negative 13, negative 12, negative 11, negative 10, negative 9, negative 8, negative 7, and negative 6. Okay? So at negative 10, what kind of circle do I want? Well, I want an open circle because there's not a line underneath my symbol. So an open circle. And then which way do I want to shade? I want to shade all the numbers that are bigger than that. So the numbers that are getting closer to 0 are the numbers that are bigger. So that way right there. Okay, moving on, I have one more page. This time I have some word problems. So number 9, John is shipping a package to a friend. The maximum weight of the package, contents, and box is 18 pounds. If the box weighs 0.75 pounds, how much can the package contents weigh? It says to write an inequality and solve, then graph your solution. But y'all, I decided we're not going to graph our solution here. We're just going to write our inequality and solve. Okay? So, some important information. He's shipping a package to a friend. There's nothing really important about that. The maximum weight. The maximum weight. Maximum's a key word for us. The maximum weight of the package, contents, and box is 18 pounds. Okay, if the box weighs 0.75 pounds, how much can the package contents weigh? Okay, so we've got two important numbers, and we have a key word, and that key word is maximum. But let's think about the situation. We know the contents are like what's inside the box, right? So we've got the contents, and that with the box itself has to be combined. And it has to be something compared to the maximum weight, right? So we have to consider the maximum weight. So how do I combine? What operation combines the contents and the box? Well, wouldn't I add them together to get a total weight? Yeah, so the contents plus the box is something compared to the maximum. Now, maximum is one of our key words. If you go back here, look for maximum. Do you see maximum right here? So it's less than or equal to. That's the symbol I want to use. So anytime you see this word maximum, you need to be thinking less than or equal to. Okay? So now that we've kind of got this guide of how to write our inequality, let's write it. Do we know how much the contents weigh? No, that's in fact what we're trying to figure out. So that's where my variable is going to go. And you can use any variable. I'm going to use x just for consistency. So x plus the box weight. Do we know how much the box weighs? Yeah, we highlighted it, 0.75 pounds. So x plus 0.75 is less than or equal to, what was that maximum weight? We highlighted it, 18 pounds. That's our inequality. Is that an inequality that we can solve? Sure it is. So we're just going to draw our line. And now to get that x by itself, I'm going to subtract 0.75 on both sides. So on the side with the x, 0.75 cancels out. X is less than or equal to, and on the other side, if I use my calculator, 18 minus 0.75, I'm going to get 17.25. Well, 17.25 what? 17.25 pounds. That right there is our solution. And if I asked you to graph that, I would make sure I provided a number line for you. But what this means is that the contents can weigh no more than 17.25 pounds. The contents or the goodies in the box can weigh no more than 17.25 pounds. Okay, let's move on to number 10. Chris pays a fee if her bank balance falls below $10 on the statement date. Prior to the statement date, her balance was negative $3.46. Then Chris made a deposit D in ample time, so she did not have to pay a fee. Write an inequality and solve. Okay, so some important information here. She pays a fee if her balance falls below $10, right? Okay, now I don't know about y'all. I don't know if you are familiar with fees, but I personally don't like paying fees if I don't have to. So I'm assuming she's the same way. So she doesn't want to pay the fee. So if she does not want to pay the fee, she needs $10 to be the minimum. So $10 is the minimum needed in the account, okay? She doesn't want to pay a fee, so $10 is the minimum needed in the account. Now, she started with a balance that was negative $3.46. And then she made a deposit, D. We don't know how much that deposit was, but that's what we're trying to figure out. Okay? So, thinking that $10 is the minimum, what inequality sign might I use? Well, let's look at it. Is minimum one of our keywords? It is right there. So greater than or equal to is what I want. Okay? So we are going to start with our starting balance of negative $3.46. And then we're going to add a deposit, meaning we're adding money to our account. And we want our account to be greater than or equal to $10 so we can avoid the fee. Okay? So now, is that an inequality that we know how to solve? Yeah, it sure is. So I'm going to add $3.46 to both sides. So on the side with the variable, $3.46 cancels out. D is by itself, and D is greater than or equal to $13.46. So we know that she deposited at least $13.46 to avoid the fee. In fact, I'm going to write that. She deposited $13.46. Oops, I should say at least. That's key. Because she could deposit more. To avoid the fee. So keep that in mind. She could have deposited $18. Just the minimum amount that she could have deposited was $13.46, and that's what she had to deposit in order to avoid the fee. Okay? Last one. There's one just like this on your homework. Diego's neighbors paid him to take care of their fish when they went on vacation. He spent $13 of his earnings on a book and $9 on some art supplies. Afterward, he had at most $10 left. Write an inequality to represent how much Diego's neighbors paid him. Okay, so some key information here. He spent $13. He also spent $9. It says and $9. And afterward, he had at most $10 left. Okay, so let's think about this. They paid him a certain amount. We don't know how much that was. Let's say it was X. He spent $13. So how do I represent that he spent $13? Well, I'm going to subtract 13. He also spent $9. How do I represent that? I'm going to subtract 9. And then that he had at most $10 left. At most is a key word. Well, let's look at our key words over here. Where is at most? At most is right here. So less than or equal to is the sign that I want to use. So less than or equal to 10. Now, I can simplify this a little bit because these right here are like terms. So negative 13 minus 9, when I combine those, I get negative 22. So x minus 22, because he spent $22 in all, is less than or equal to 10. And that's all we had to do for this problem. It didn't say write an inequality and solve. It just said to write an inequality. And so that's what we have done. Of course, you can solve it, but you do not have to. That is the end of our little mini lesson on Intro to Inequalities and 5-4. Have a great day.